Hi, Michael. It's nice to see you again. Thank you very much for joining me.
Dave, it's always a pleasure to see you. I look forward to it every time I hear your voice or I know that there's something coming up at a trade show that we don't get a chance to do so much anymore. I love seeing people at those and hanging out with you and stuff, but I'm glad we get to we get to do this. We get to talk somewhat face to face.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Congratulations on your tech nomination, your tech award nomination. That's for your new space.
Thanks.
Now, your goal was to have that up and running the start of this year, and then this crazy COVID thing slipped in. How did that affect your progress, or how did that affect the whole project?
Well, that's a great question. You know, well, obviously you can't predict things like this are going to happen. Mm-hmm. I had made some business decisions and decided to, it was time to change rooms. I've done that a handful of times throughout my career in the last almost 30 years of mastering. I've worked at a dozen or a half, somewhere 6, 8, 9 different places, I think, something like that over the course of all that. And sometimes you just get the feeling it's time to do something different. And I just needed something different. I needed a different room. I was getting very much into. I'd been doing surround work since 2000. Paul Stubblevine and I built 2 surround rooms on the Coast Recorders facility that we had. We had the mastering rooms, but we also in that facility in San Francisco on Mission Street. And we started doing that, and I really I love the perspective, the creative possibilities. Even more, like one of the things for me is I notice even when playing things for folks, there's an active listening component to it. There's a presence for being there at the moment when you're listening. Like you're like, oh, this isn't background music. Right. There's sort of stuff happening, like being in a live, venue, a show, a club, somebody's living room, somebody's playing music, a house, a concert, a stadium, whatever it happens to be. And so I've been getting into that. And at my last facility, I was at the Fantasy Studios building in Berkeley / Emeryville, and I took over one of the. It was an unused studio there. It was the old Studio C. It was the one that was built for Creedence. And after that, it was used for the Foley pits. They put Foley pits in that tracking room, and they did a lot of the film work for the Saul Zaentz Media Company. So the Cuckoo's Nest and Amadeus and Boogie Nights and all these different things all got done in there. The film business changed, and they shut down that facility, and for about 10 years it was just left as a storage room. The whole place they had 3 other, A, B, and D. Fantasy had 3 other studios, and they didn't need to keep a 4th run, so they just sort of locked it off, and I ended up working there and moving the studio from Mission Street over there and adapting that large room to what it was to be able to do, from surround to immersive. I wanted to add the height channels. I don't know if you can see in here, but there's 3 across one side behind me, and then there's another 3 over here, and a 9 channels here on the floor. So you're 916.
916, right. Now you built
and
that.
What I found with that other room was that it was just too big. It was actually, among other things, it wasn't the right size room. It didn't have the right acoustic treatments. The construction of the walls weren't what I needed them to be. It was a hard room to manage, and it seemed time to, I really wanted to push and get into this even more so. And so it took me about 1.5 years worth of build. We I dug up underground, went way down, and had to rebuild everything from the footing to the slab to the foundation and everything, just going up to be able to get to this. And so there's a long answer to your question, but I'm in the happiest I've ever been. I'm in the best room I've ever worked in. I put everything I had into making sure this is exactly what I needed for now and the future, going forward. And it was such an honor and such an amazing thing that the Tech Awards noticed that too. This is to me as a mastering room should be, dialed in, built, walls, treatment, power, cables, everything.
And 916 right from the start, right from scratch. The whole thing was planned right from the ground up to be that space.
Correct. And from there, 916 is a variation of a Dolby format, so doing Dolby Atmos as a speaker setup here. But I'm also capable of switching in between a couple other different speaker setups. I have my ceiling speakers on rails, so I can move them as I need to for different positionings.
Right.
When I'm getting ready to put the center channel up, that's my project in January right away, is the center overhead and the center above the height speaker.
Right.
To be able to handle the Sony format or handle Oro 3D, be able to work with that. So, I'm finding that a lot of things, and especially as a mastering engineer, is not necessarily, not necessarily format specific, but not unlike the stereo music world as a mastering engineer goes. LP masters, CD masters, high-res masters, they take different attentions, they take different deliverables, they take a different mastering process and mindset, and some of the different immersive formats. So as a mastering engineer, I need to be prepared for my clients to be able to pivot to whatever they need to do, to best represent themselves. And so I was able to do that here. And back to your original question, sorry, again, that was sort of a long answer to get to that, but it was, it was just luck of the draw. I sort of fought the idea of doing this for a long time. I finally was okay with it. I spent, like I said, more than a year and a half doing all the excavation and rebuild and all of that, and moved in February. And in March, we get locked down.
So you actually had it finished, or more or less finished, by the time the lockdown came.
I did, yeah. And the question a second ago was, how did the lockdown affect things? And I moved over maybe just a tad faster than I would have. I just needed to get in and get going. I had work to do, and I had some things I needed to get taken care of, time frame wise. So we got the room all dialed in sonically, and then finished with some cosmetic stuff over the next several months. So finished up some things that we could do so safely and in a timely fashion that didn't affect my work. I had Bob Hodis over, and Bob well, and we tuned the room from every step of the way. The construction, the walls were being built. We looked at the mass of the rooms. We're building it up. We're doing a little bit more. Now the walls are coming in just a little bit. We're finding the sweet spot, the sitting spot. And then every iteration after that, even before putting the treatment or even the final finishing, you see the fabric on the walls. Mm-hmm. But we did a lot of stuff behind there. A lot of the speaker cables for the ceiling and for the sides and all of that are all through the wall.
Right. Yeah. Roughed in from the start.
Yeah, and then behind the fabric are different versions of acoustic treatment. We wanted to get it all right before we made it look good.
Yeah, it looks great.
And that was the thing that took us a little bit longer, but again, I was able to get in and get working right away.
Right. So. Can you spin me around? Can I see the front? Can I see the back?
Yeah, let's see. Let me do that. All right, tell you what, I just unplugged that. All right, so here's from the back of the room.
Right on. There's the Stellas.
The Stellas, yep, and the Diablos for the sides.
Yeah.
I don't. You see that I don't have a console in front of me.
Yeah.
I actually really very much like having no distractions.
Yeah, that layout's different than you had at the other studio. You've moved the racks to the side and.
Yeah, and all my gear, as you can see, is there's one rack of stuff on one side and one rack on the other, and then I keep my sources, so my turntable, my tape machine, stuff like that in, as well as some other processing gear.
Yep.
And then we come around to the back of the room and see the rear speakers.
Yep.
I actually have a window. It doesn't look. The light is weird on a video like this, so I've got it down. But it's so nice to have a window in the studio.
Yeah.
We go up the steps here a little bit so you can kind of see the...
Bring in a little daylight so it's not just a bunker.
Yeah, and you know how it goes. Like time frame wise, you get up, you set up and in the studio you get started working and your head goes down and all of a sudden, 6 hours, 8 hours, something like that goes away. You realize you need to eat something or whatever, and the sun not having it tracked, you don't know exactly. You just it's like a casino.
Yeah.
Studios don't want you to know what time it is.
That's right. Oh gosh.
But it's great. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful, and it looks.
I realize this is
great.
I've got a second room that's also a production room, so I can do a handful of things if I'm doing tape transfers or things like that from other machines, or editing, or there's actually a tracking facility. There's room to be able to record. The rooms are tied together on a Dante network, so I can go back and forth from playback or capture.
Oh, great.
In a different way. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like a really nice environment. The color, the pastel colors and so on they look very warm and tranquil. That's great.
And we didn't even get into, what's supporting my focals in the front of the room.
Oh, what is supporting your focals?
Oh, these are, there's this company, I think they're in the Midwest. They make this product. It's like putting 4 little worlds underneath each one. There's a Gaia under each.
Thank you. You're wonderful.
Under each speaker.
No, I'm glad you're still enjoying them. It was a wonderful experience to see you and set those things up, and I'm glad you're still enjoying them.
Thank you. I very much am, and they're a big part of what I got going on here for these speakers. Like I said, with I found the construction of this, I did a tremendous amount of rebar and concrete below me, which I wasn't able to do in the other spot. And so there's at least 30 inches in one spot, and then there's more. Having these on that base of this concrete makes those speakers, the imaging in this room is the best imaging I've had in any room I've worked in. Fantastic. I mean, it's a fantastic listening experience.
Wonderful.
And I thank you for part of that too.
Well, thank you very much. You're very kind.